News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. On the Mark is powered by Cunis Country Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area at 221 North 36th Street, Quincy. Faith, family, and giving back. That's Cunis Country. And now, here's Mark Hespin.
Good morning, Tri-States, and wherever you may be listening on the News Talk 1070 KHMO app. This is On the Mark. I am Mark Hespin. Brought to you by the great people at Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area. I just talked with actually Levi Billman, the general sales manager over there, yesterday on Mornings of Mark and Sam, and he was telling me, hey, the whole month of June, if you go and you test drive a new truck or new SUV from Cunis Honda Hyundai, well, then you can get registered to win an RV. So no purchase necessary. You just got to go on a test drive of a truck or RV, which obviously could, truck or SUV, which could tow your RV, and you're good to go. And what's great about Cunis Honda Hyundai is I've said it for months now, they do something that no one else does. They are a Honda Hyundai here in Quincy, but if you want a brand new Ford, Ram, GMC, Chevy, Toyota, you can get it from Cunis Honda Hyundai. It's the network of dealers that makes Cunis special. So check them on out, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Thank you so much for making me a part of your Saturday, June 22nd. We have a lot to get to here on the show. You can always follow me on all social media channels at Mark Hespin, MarkHespen. Follow the show on the Mark KHMO on Facebook, as well. I got to talk about NFL updates. Trevor Lawrence got paid. Mike Tomlin has extension. We have a new head coach with the Los Angeles Lakers, J.J. Redick. The Bulls are already starting their offseason hot with some trades. And I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't start Hespin headline number one with a congratulations. I was wrong, and they proved me wrong. The Boston Celtics are your NBA champions.
Hespin's headlines on the Mark.
So the question really becomes now, can Boston be the team that breaks through this weird stretch of NBA basketball that there's nothing else like this in my life? So I was born in 1990. And in the 90s, every championship was won by Jordan, the Bulls, or the Rockets. It was Dynasty. Then I'm about 10, 11 years old, and you think, all right, okay, there goes Jordan. He's out of here. And now we're going to get some parity in the league. There will be of parity. Everyone will have a chance to win every year. And then we have two dynasties concurrently. The Spurs start a 12 to 15-year dynasty in which they win 5 titles. And the Lakers, Kobe, Shaq, 3 and 4 years. And they then there's that one weird kind of Pistons year. And then it was Boston, LA. And then you had Miami and LeBron, the decision. Miami, San Antonio, Dallas, one random one in there. And then just as that was ending, the Warriors dynasty begins. And Steph Curry wins 4 rings. And you start to say to yourself, man, the NBA my whole life has been nothing but dominated by dynasties where teams win multiple championships with the same star over the course of a couple of years. And then you look at the past 6 years. The year that Kevin Durant tore his Achilles in the NBA Finals, Toronto Raptors and Kawhi Leonard won. Then it was the bubble year. Everything got wild. LeBron and the Lakers take a title. They get to banner 17 to tie the Celtics. And then, don't worry, all right, a couple weird years, but we're back. COVID is winding down, and you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, the MVP, back-to-back MVP. He wins a title, and now it's going to be the Bucks. You're going to have to deal with the Bucks. And then the Bucks get a bunch of injuries, and they lose to the Celtics, and the Celtics then play the Warriors, come back out of nowhere with a youth injection. Klay Thompson's finally back healthy, and they win a title. And then, okay, well, maybe the Warriors go back-to-back. Steph proved he could do it without KD before, without KD post. And then Nikola Jokic finally breaks through. And we never got to even see Jokic versus Giannis because Giannis was dealing with Chris Middleton and a bunch of injuries and himself being injured. And then we're like, all right, well, that's okay. The Nuggets are now going to be the dynasty. We have our next dynasty. Jokic, I picked them all year. We got a dynasty. This has all the feeling of a back-to-back. Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon and Murray. Everyone's healthy. And who cares? They lost Bruce Brown. It's all right. And they lose to the Timberwolves. And now the Celtics have won. So in a year from now, I ask you, where do you think we'll be? Do you think we'll be talking about the Celtics as a team that wins a title again back-to-back? Or will we be talking about the Nuggets reclaiming the championship? And then you can argue, all right, now we got a mini dynasty forming. Maybe it's that Bucks team finally gets healthy and Giannis can kind of like, all right, he won now, then it would be 2 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. 2 in 5 years. Not a dynasty, but, you know, if they win another one, maybe you can start the argument that the Giannis era, or maybe it is the Celtics going back-to-back. Where are we at? Well, let me give you an example of, let me lay out to you why I think the Celtics could become a dynasty, and then why I think there's a chance that they won't become a dynasty. It'll be another one-hit wonder like these teams that we've seen. So let's start with the yes. All right, yes, a year from now, the Celtics have won it again, and we're saying, all right, now we got something going. Now we could be talking dynasty here. Well, there's 4 main reasons. Jason Tatum, number 1. He is, to me, one of the elite talents in the NBA. He is a unselfish superstar. He is a guy that has found a way to work within a system and has also has extreme levels to his games. You can't just take one thing away from him. He proved in the finals that he was willing to rebound and willing to pass the ball and keep shooting. Even though he was struggling, he's not going to be afraid to keep shooting. So that's one reason. Okay, they got a superstar. See, number 2 would be they have the best Robin in the NBA. So much so that you can argue this is maybe the only NBA team with 2 Batmans, like legit Batmans. Like, no, the best player is Tatum, yeah, but barely. And he's so close that Jaylen Brown won the MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. So they have Tatum and Brown. Those are reasons 1 and 2. They figured it out. You know, after they lost to the Celtics a couple of years ago when they were a young team but ascended and finally made it to that point, we said, I was one of the people who said, maybe you got to trade Jaylen Brown and just build around Tatum and build a more traditional offense. It doesn't feel like it works. They both kind of are just the wing guys that the ball, you need a point guard more so, and it didn't work with Kyrie, but you got to find the right point guard. They made it work. And credit to them that they have ego aside. That's a huge part of how this could become a dynasty. And the fact that they're both 2, I think, of the top 10 most talented players in the NBA. So those are 2 of the biggest factors. The third biggest factor is Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens looked at a really good Celtics team that had Marcus Smart, who was a legend and everyone loved him. Guys like Grant Williams, who was had big shots in big games in the playoffs. And, you know, this was a team that is extraordinarily capable of being there in the finals. And he said, you know what, we're just not good enough. And I'm going to take advantage of teams tanking. And I'm going to steal away great players and fit them into my system. And part of the great things that Brad Stevens has going for him is he coached Jaylen Brown. He coached Jason Tatum. He coached in this league at a high level. He knows player chemistry. He knows when he's watching basketball how a coach needs to, you know, get his team to move the ball and to play into whatever system that they're going to run. And Brad Stevens is just good at preying on the weak. I mean, when the Bucks traded Drew Holiday to the Portland Trailblazers to get Dame Lillard, I was for it. I was like, you got to try something different. It's been a couple lackadaisical years, and you need a true number 2 because Middleton's not really a 2 anymore, and Holiday's really the great glue guy 3. And if you can get a Dame Lillard for that, you just got to take it. Nowhere in that did I think, oh, wait, crap, that means Brad Stevens is going to prey on Portland, and now he's going to end up in Boston. And Kristaps Porzingis left Luka because it wasn't working well, and they shipped him off to Washington where he could try to be a number 2 to Bradley Beal, and he was, but he wasn't healthy. And Brad Stevens goes, oh, I can prey on them too. They're going into a rebuild. Porzingis is never healthy, so they're not happy with him. Well, I don't need Porzingis to be 100% healthy the whole year for the success of my team. I need him to be, a 70-game-a-year guy. And he was. And helped them get the best record in the NBA. So the Celtics have Brad Stevens, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. And the fourth, and I think really crucial key for the Boston Celtics to maybe be the next dynasty in the NBA, it's Joe Mazzulla. He gets it, folks, and he is Brad Stevens' handpicked guy, and he wants to be in Boston. He doesn't want to be anywhere else. He's young. He's growing with this team. It feels very much like a younger Northeastern academic version of Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra. Pat Riley groomed Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra was the guy who was rewinding the videos in the film room. It's basically what Joe Mazzulla was. He's a G League coach. Bounced around. Brad Stevens found him and groomed him up. And granted, Ime Udoka was the first choice. And Ime Udoka fumbled the bag because he couldn't not, cheat on some guy's wife with himself. So he fumbled the bag, and Joe Mazzulla was ready, and Brad Stevens groomed him to be ready. So you have the head coach, you have the front office, you have your two superstars. Tatum will get his long-term deal locked up. That has all of the writings on the wall for a dynasty, or a possible dynasty. Now, why no? Why no? Well, will they be able to keep this band together? Will they be able to find a way to retool and also continue to grow? Because every year is different. Every player is different. Can they bounce back from the adversity? It's hard to win one, let alone two. So they got that going against them. I think Derek White's the most important piece for them going forward. I think he needs to be, he's young, same age as Tatum and Brown. He needs to be the third guy. And you need to find a way to keep him as the third guy. Drew Holiday, hopefully you can get him to sign some veteran minimum, keep him around. Kristaps Porzingis, hopefully the same. He's made big money. You can say, hey, listen, dude, if you want to go chase the money somewhere else and be irrelevant again, fine. But if you want to stay on cheap, team-friendly deals and be here, be a huge part of something great, then awesome, we'd love to have you. Al Horford got one more year left if he comes back. So they have some roster issues beyond Tatum and Brown. Now, Tatum and Brown are the foundation, and I trust Brad Stevens to build around that foundation. But I think Derek White's the most important third piece. He is extremely important. You've got to lock Derek White up. Got to find a way to keep him in Boston. So they have that going against them. And then let's just be honest. The West is tough. And whoever comes out of the West is going to be a threat, no matter what. Whether it's Luka and he's one of the three best players on the planet, or whether it's Nikola Jokic, the best player on the planet with a winning culture and a great head coach and a great teammates of his own, whether it's a young up-and-coming Oklahoma City Thunder team that now is taking some lumps in the playoffs, similar to what the Celtics took in the playoffs, and now they're coming back with experience and a gobs of talent and picks. They just got better with Alex Caruso too. Or maybe it's a Minnesota team with the next face of the league, a top 10 talent in Anthony Edwards, the American basketball face of the world right now. So the West is going to present a real tough challenge for the Boston Celtics to become a dynasty. And then let's be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. Every team needs some luck to win a championship, right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady, they got lucky. Patrick Mahomes' two starting tackles got injured in the weeks before the game. That's luck. Now, they were then prepared for it, and they capitalized on it. The Boston Celtics were prepared for injury luck, and they capitalized on it. They had some injuries of their own, but Porzingis being out, well, listen, remember, Miami didn't have Jimmy. Okay? Milwaukee didn't have anyone. No Giannis. The Knicks were an infirmary. And even the Pacers and the Cavs, who they played, well, they had injuries of their own. Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton both missed time during that series. So I'm not blaming the Celtics, but I'm saying let's call it a spade a spade. Injury luck played a huge factor in them having as easy of a run to the finals as possible. If they would have been in some longer series, they may have been tired, and this could have been a 6 or 7 game series. And when you get into 6 and 7 game series, who knows what happens, right? Who knows? So Listen, my guess is this is a team that will probably win another title. My guess is their best chance to win another title is next year or in the next year or two as they rework and keep this core together. I don't think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown feel like a one-and-done type of combo, especially with the landscape of the NBA the way it is right now. But would it shock me if it goes Nuggets win again next year or the Bucks win next year and then the Celtics don't win for another year or two and it takes Tatum and Brown clawing back to the top of the mountain? It wouldn't shock me. I don't think there's a dynasty here. I think we're in an era of the NBA where they've done such a good job with the contracts and the player mobility and the big signings that you are seeing more parity and you are seeing, this talent being spread more throughout the league. And I think it's a great thing for the NBA. I really do. I've never felt more confident that there are 5 teams I think could win the title next year. Milwaukee, Denver, Boston. Those are 3 guarantees that could win the title next year. I would add in absolutely OKC, Minnesota, and Dallas into that mix, depending on how they bounce back. So we are in an era of NBA basketball, I think, that truly may have some parity. We haven't seen this since the 70s, well before I was born and watching the NBA. And I think we should enjoy it. I think it's fun. It's different. And if there is one team that is able to become a dynasty here, and any of those teams I listed, Milwaukee, Nuggets, Celtics, if any of them are able to win, 2 of the next 3 and they kind of become a dynasty, I would be surprised. And it would really cement some legacies because there's a lot of talent in the NBA and it's really spread out. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai. When we come back, I want to touch on who are the actual best players in the world right now in the NBA. We're live and local. It's on the Mark.
Children are the greatest joy and our best hope for a better future. Friends, they are the future. But did you know that millions of kids right here in our own backyard are facing hunger every day? Without healthy food, it's harder to grow, to thrive, to feel their best.
The impact when children don't have enough to eat is tremendous because when you're hungry and your basic needs aren't being met, you cannot learn.
Every child deserves to be fed. This is a problem we know how to solve. Food is not just food. It's energy, health, confidence, hope, and even love. Yes, love.
Breakfast in the classroom contributes to kids being more focused, which leads to higher grades, and simply just their well-being.
Thank you!
Learn more about how No Kid Hungry is helping end child hunger in America at helpnokidhungry.org.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. Brought to you by the great people over at Kunis Honda Hyundai. If you haven't asked them yet about their lifetime powertrain, no fear warranty on new and used vehicles, you got to do it. Stop on by the dealership, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Tell them Mark sent you. Welcome on into the show. Thank you so much for joining us here. Episode 240 of On the Mark here on this June 22nd. Shout out to the Midsummer Arts Fair. Head on down there, Quincy, at Washington Park today. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right. We just talked a ton about can or cannot. That's not the way I want to say it. I'm not Shakespeare. To be or not to be. Could the Celtics not become a dynasty? And one of the things about being a dynasty and having a dynasty and a successful dynasty, it's about having one of the top players on the planet. There has never been a dynasty in the NBA or in the NFL for that matter to where you didn't possess a top 10 talent in the world at that position. Whether you're talking about Brady and the Pats, Duncan and the Spurs, whatever, Aikman and Emmitt Smith and the Cowboys, you were loaded with what you could argue is top 10 talent at their positions, or just even in general, top 10 talent in the world at that sport. So I want to look at who, in my opinion, right now are the top 10 players in the NBA. And not only just the NBA, I would argue just the world, because I think the best players on the planet in the world are in the NBA.
Hespin's headlines on the Mark.
All right, the top 10 basketball players in the world right now. Let's dive into it. I'm going to start at number 1 and work my way down from there because I actually think it's more interesting to go 1 to 10, because I think we kind of know what the top of the list should look like. It's that spots 5 through 10, which I think is up for real debate. So I'll give you my list, and then you can let me know if I'm an idiot or whatever, and, comment away and hit me up on Twitter at Mark Hespin and just say, hey, you're an idiot. And I'll probably say, yeah, but this is just my list. You can have your own list. So let's jump into it. Number one, I don't think right now it's much of an argument at all. I think it's Nikola Jokic. The argument starts at number 2, but Jokic, 3 of 4 MVPs. The way he stylistically plays the game right now, it is the definition of basketball in 2024, not only in the NBA, but in the world. It used to just be like, oh, that's so European. Can it work in the NBA? There's so many more Euros and foreign-born players now in the NBA, to where it's diluted the NBA so much, and I think in a good way, that skill over athleticism is something that is dominating right now. You look at Luka, you look at Jokic. I mean, that is skill over just pure athleticism. LeBron James dominated the league with athleticism. He was like a lion on the prowl. Kobe Bryant dominated the league with athleticism. Michael Jordan dominated the league with athleticism. This is just not the way it is anymore. I mean, Tim Duncan was one of those rare American greats. So you say there's more skill than athleticism for him. KG, athletic. I mean, listen, to be in the NBA, you got to have skill. We're talking about what dominated and at a position. Tracy McGrady, just a physically dominant person. Vince Carter, that era of basketball, Dwayne Wade, it just doesn't exist anymore. This whole, can the European guys handle the athleticism of the NBA guys? Yeah, because their skill levels are so incredible. And Jokic is really the face of that. When you look at him, you just say to yourself, oh my God, how does he compete with a Bam Adebayo? Look at Bam. He's cut out of rock. And yet he's 10 times the player Bam Adebayo is, because he's extremely skilled. So he's number 1. And this is where I think I will die on this hill a little bit right now, and I'm going to stand for this person. And I think the injury killed us having a better view and a gauge of how incredible this person is. And I'm putting it number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is a 2-time MVP, Finals MVP. He is a champion. If you take him and Jokic, they have won 5 out of the last 6 MVPs. And so he is absolutely deserving of being number 2. One of the reasons people say, well, wait a minute, Luka's better than Giannis. Let me paint a quick picture for you. Luka led the league in scoring this year, correct? Who was second? Giannis Antetokounmpo. The guy who cannot shoot threes in the 3-ball era was second in the league in scoring. He is like nothing else. I mean, the only way to describe him is Shaq-esque. And an era now where you have Wemby and these Euros who, like a Joel Embiid and a Nikola Jokic, Giannis can guard them all. He's a first-team all-defensive guy when healthy. He is a complete two-way player who is getting better at shooting the three, but inside the three-point arc can score from anywhere at any time. He is elite. And I think right now, because of how bad Luka especially looked on defense in the finals, you cannot argue with me that Giannis Antetokounmpo is not the better all-around player. He is. He just is. He's the better all-around player. He's the second best player on the planet. And he has a chance to, depending on how next year goes, can he stay healthy? Can they make a run? Get right back up there and can challenge Jokic for being the number 1 player on the planet again. Luka Doncic is number 3. And Luka is here because of what he's accomplished so far in such an early part of his career. But also, Luka Doncic is the only player on this list who truly can make slight tweaks to his game and instantly become the world's number 1. Everyone else on the list could become the world's number 1, but they would have to make a massive change. And for Giannis, it's like a massive staying healthy, like prove that you could be healthy, right? But for Luka, it's purely about like effort, being in shape, and like learning how to not let guys blow past you on defense. Like that's like it. Those are small tweaks. Those are really workable, easy things, and he could immediately skyrocket his obvious list. His potential's off the charts. He's a special player, led the league in scoring. He's got the highest ceiling of anyone on this list. I firmly believe that. Number 4 is a struggle for me. It's a real struggle. But I'm going off of what I think is you're just talking about talent, less about team, unique, who they are. If I was starting my team for 1 year and I had to go all in, I do put Joel Embiid at 4. Former MVP, not a lot of playoff success. Health is a gigantic concern. But when he is healthy, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's a big man league, and he dominates. He dominates. The only big man in the world better than him is Jokic. Giannis is a little different. They're just such stylistically so different. Hard to judge them compared to each other. I mean, Joel Embiid is a phenomenal talent. Now, Joel could become the world's number 1 again. He could regain that MVP status, but he has got to prove that he can battle injuries. And a lot of it, I think, with Joel is he needs to lose like 30 pounds. Luka needs to lose 30 pounds. So does Joel. I mean, Joel, he's not going up against Shaq. There's no Shaqs and Yao Mings in this league. He's much bigger and more physical than everyone. His problem is his body breaks down over the long season because he's so big. He's got to find a way. His game is built more on explosivity than Jokic. Jokic could be a little out of shape. And I think it plays in his benefit, unlike Luka, because Luka's more of a guard who ball handles. So it's different. I'm not going to ask Jokic to lose weight. I am going to ask Joel Embiid to say, hey, 7-time All-Star, MVP, you're the 4th best player on the planet, in my opinion. And the one thing I'll give Joel Embiid and why he's ahead of this guy, the next guy on the list, Jason Tatum at 5, is I know Joel Embiid has a killer instinct in him. I've seen him have the killer instinct. I've now seen Jason Tatum at 5 play in 2 NBA finals and absolutely mentally fall apart. Jason Tatum is the perfect basketball player. He's in shape. He's long. He can defend. He shoots well. He's athletic. He rebounds. He can make passes. He is a team player. He acquiesces to the other stars in his team. He is the perfect basketball player, except for the fact that he is not Kobe Bryant. He's not a killer. There's no alpha elite killer instinct. You look at Anthony Edwards. You look at the eyes of Luka Doncic. You look at Giannis. When they turn it on, you're like, oh, good God, they're murderers. They're going to kill someone. LeBron, the scowl. Jason Tatum has none of that. And you know what? He's in a system that supports him not needing to have that, which is why the Celtics are so special and just won an NBA title. He is the 5th best basketball player on the planet. And it's hard to pick apart the 5th best basketball player on the planet. He's nearly perfect. I just think there's a little bit missing above the shoulders. But if he can find it, somehow find it, I mean, he is a guy that could become a top 3 easy. I mean, because he's got everything you want right now. Congrats to Jason Tatum. He's a phenomenal player. He's my 5th best player on the planet. If you wanted to put Jason ahead of Joel and flip that, I wouldn't fight you too hard on that. I just value size and that killer instinct that I've seen Joel have. I'm going to put SGA at 6. SGA is young. He has not proven it at the level maybe some of the guys I'm about to say after his name, but your eyes just tell the story. Sometimes you just got to let your eyes tell the story and tell you the truth. The kid is special. I mean, elite speed, elite ball handling, elite shooting. And you know what? His game is not like John Morant's, not like De'Aaron Fox's, not like Derrick Rose's, not like Russell Westbrook's, in the fact that he doesn't rely on just jumping out of the gym athleticism to like overpower you. He can do that, but he's skilled. I'd also argue he's a Canadian-born player. And there's something about guys who are not Americans that they are more selfless and that they play a more team-friendly basketball. And I think that's only going to help him in the longevity of his career. So I have Shea at 6. He's got a high ceiling. I don't know. I mean, it'll take more injuries for Giannis or Joel and things like that for him to move above them because I value the size and the big man. But SGA at 6 is deservingly so. Anthony Edwards at 7. I have him just ahead of SGA, just behind SGA, because SGA is a more complete scorer right now. Anthony Edwards is a great defender. He's a great leader. He is the face, in my opinion, of American basketball for the next decade. Right now, you'd bet the money on it. He's got it. He needs to become a true 3-level scorer consistently, and he'll get there. He's a kid. But I love Anthony Edwards. He's at 7. Just have Kevin Durant at 8. Durant is interesting. And there's a lot of people who are already like, wait a minute, how can you have Durant behind SGA? Durant's better maybe even than Tatum. Durant is a special player. He's one of the most unique talents in the NBA's history and basketball's history. My problem with Kevin Durant is he's now leaving his prime. And also, we have never seen Kevin Durant on his own be the alpha, the omega, the sun, the stars, and dominate and lead a team. We've seen him just be the best player on a great team where he didn't have to lead in Golden State and he won titles. But this is his Phoenix Suns team. He's the one who got rid of Chris Paul and Ayton and said, "Yeah, come on, give me Bradley Beal. Let's go in all in this." And he is the one that lost in the first round, embarrassingly so. So I like Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant's, though past his prime officially, at the very end of his prime, and he's still an incredible basketball player, but he's not a top 7 guy anymore. I have LeBron at 9. A similar thing. LeBron, on any given night, you could argue LeBron James is the best basketball player in the world. The problem with LeBron is he's just in a year 22 where that can't just be asked of him every night. But LeBron James right now is still a better basketball player, top to bottom, than, Jimmy Butler and the other young guys you might want to add on this list, Donovan Mitchell or anyone else that you'd be angry is going to get left off this list. I have LeBron at 9, and then I have Jaylen Brown at 10. I put Jaylen Brown at 10. He proved to me that if you told me, hey, they just released every single player in the NBA, free for all, everyone's a free agent, and your team, with their first pick, they took Jaylen Brown, I'd be pumped because I got an alpha, I got a dog, I got a leader, I got a guy who's a scorer from outside, inside. I don't love that he can't use his left hand, but he is an absolute alpha in the room. I'd be pumped about it. Now, is Jaylen Brown going to lead you to a title, just Jaylen Brown? I don't know. You'd have to build a really great roster around him. But I think Jaylen Brown right now has earned the title of the 10th best player on the planet. Now, my honorable mentions, and these are all guys who could argue probably maybe have better upside, more talent right now than a Jaylen Brown or something like that. But I just saw Jaylen Brown dominate and take home all the hardware, so I'm going to give him that benefit of the doubt. And he was fantastic in the biggest moments. Honorable mention list, probably my next, 11 through 15, 16, 17, and put them in any order you want. Wemby, Jimmy G, Steph, Devin Booker, Tyrese Halliburton, Kawhi, and Paul George. That kind of rounds it out for me. So there you go. There's my top 10 players in the league right now. Giannis is 2. That's one thing I really want to drive home. Jason Tatum is a top 5. He's missing the killer instinct in the alpha. And then after that, if you want to mix and match and move some guys around, I think LeBron and KD are still top 10 players. I can't put them any higher than 7 or 8, but I think they deserve to be on the list. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070, KHMO, the KHMO app. When we come back, we're going to switch our gears to footy football. Yeah, there's a couple headlines in the NFL that happened over the last week or so that I'd love to touch on and give you some strong thoughts on, so we'll jump into those next. We're live and local in America's News Talk 1070, KHMO, the KHMO app. It is on the mark.
As a veteran of the United States military, I can finally get the opportunity to enjoy special events, like a date with my wife, or going out together with my family and friends, things that we couldn't afford, thanks to VetTix.
Every empty seat at a concert, a game, motorsports, or a play is a missed opportunity to say thanks to a veteran and service member. We can help. We can give our veterans a special event where they too can create their own cherished memories. Find out how by visiting www.vettix.org. That's www.vettix.org. Find out how you can make a difference in a veteran's life.
Meals from those years are hard to forget. It was all white bread and whole milk, hamburger casseroles, and quiche Lorraines. all with a side of cigarettes. We ate salads as desserts. We knew a party was classy if it had a cheese log. And we never missed an after-dinner smoke. It didn't matter if we were in our dining rooms, a burger joint, or the ritziest of restaurants. There'd be an ashtray on every table. And that very particular flavor in every meal. We smoked for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's amazing that our food could taste like anything else. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Surviving lung cancer starts with a scan. Learn more at screenyourlungs.org. This PSA was made possible by industry funding and guidance from lung cancer patient groups.
My name is Lindsay, and I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. I'm alive today because of this incredible hospital and the generosity of so many who wanted to support it.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Here's your weatherology forecast from the News Talk 1070 KHMO Weather Center. Mainly sunny skies today with daytime highs approaching 93. Winds out of the southwest 10 to 15 miles per hour. Overcast tonight, chance of thunderstorms 71. Currently, it's 81 degrees.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app. We are brought to you by the great people over at Kunis Honda Hyundai. Have you asked them yet about the lifetime powertrain, no fear warranty on new and used vehicles? You should stop into the dealership, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy, and just say, hey, Mark sent me. Welcome on into episode 240 of On the Mark, if you're just joining us here. We're going to take a little break from the NBA chatter and focus back in on football because we had some big storylines over the last week or so. And so I want to touch on a couple of them. First and foremost, Trevor Lawrence, he got paid $55 million a year, highest paid annual quarterback. Now, it's so funny when these happen, all we do is think about, oh, man, who's the next one? Who's the next guy getting the bag? And to me, one of the things that's really shocking is that Adam Schefter was just saying on ESPN yesterday that he believes that Jordan Love and his camp says that Trevor Lawrence $55 million is the lowest they'll go, that he is going to demand to be paid more than Jordan Love. And what I think you're going to learn, and what we're learning in this world right now, is the longer you wait, if you have your guy, the more expensive it will absolutely be. Absolutely be. Kyler Murray's deal now of $49 million. Remember 2 years ago they signed that? Like, oh my God, that's insane. And I look at that and go, it's a bargain. Can you imagine getting a quarterback for only $49 million right now? It's crazy. And I do think that if you are, I'll stand by it. I think if you're Dak Prescott, I think if you're Tua, I think you look at those numbers and you say to yourself and you say to your agent, this is all life-changing money, right? This is all generational wealth the quarterbacks are now earning. They're earning gigantic contracts like you see in the NBA. This is legit generational wealth. I would, if I was Tua and I was Dak, I would say, send me a 45 for 4 years, fully guaranteed. And just $180 million fully guaranteed. And that way the team can pay a bunch up front, move some stuff around in the cap. Because that's generational money. It's insane money. And if you're Tua, you'll always be able to say to your organization, hey, I gave you a break. I gave you a little discount. So if I throw a bad pick or I lose, in the cold again in Buffalo in the playoffs, you're going to stick with me. I gave you a little bit of a break, right? And if you're Dak, you've already had one gigantic bite of the apple. And if you want Micah Parsons, and you want CeeDee Lamb, and you want to actually have a chance to win a championship, you can't go over $50 million. You're just not gonna. You immediately eliminate yourself if you go over $50 million, those guys. Trevor Lawrence at 55, it's expensive, but in 2 years when this deal really kicks in, he'll be like the fifth, sixth highest paid player. Pay your guys early if you have them. Because now Jordan Love, the fact that you're going to pay over 55 for Jordan Love is insanity. Now, he may end up being worth it, but it on the surface is absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Week 5 and 6, The Packers were under 500, and Matt LaFleur was at the podium going, my quarterback needs to play better. And now you're going to pay him $57 million a year? So pay the guys early. So I get why the Packers are trying to get the deal done. But I don't know. Jordan Love has leverage because he's never been paid, right? And you got to pay him, and he played well, and they put all the eggs in his basket. Tua has no leverage because he's not good enough and physically gifted enough, and the injuries. So if I were Tua, I would sign up. I'd be like, all right, let's just lock it in. $45 million a year guaranteed, all fully guaranteed. Just 4 years, $45 million a year, fully guarantee it. If I'm Dak, again, I don't get why Dak's being absurdly greedy here. You're in a great spot. You're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. You have all the brand deals. You want a chance to win now. It's the only thing that'll help your legacy is winning a Super Bowl, getting to a Super Bowl. Sign up. 4 years, $45 million fully guaranteed. Let's do it. It'll look like a bargain. It'll actually be a bargain, and you'll help out your team, your positioning with the fan base while still getting generational wealth type money. Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, they're in a position where they say, hey, I've never been paid. I'm the guy. You invested in me. I'm going to strong arm you a bit. I get it. But if I'm Tua and I'm Dak, I avoid the strong arming. I avoid it as much as I can. Try to just get a deal. Because you saw with Baker Mayfield how quickly that can just disappear. And then you're SOL. Mike Tomlin gets a 3-year extension. I'm certainly was surprised by this. I didn't think it was coming. I knew Mike Tomlin was entering the last year of his deal. But I will say, kudos to Pittsburgh for at least sending the message to Russ and to Justin Fields and to every other quarterback on the planet, whether you're a college senior who's thinking about getting drafted next year, or if you are any other quarterback who may be unhappy with their situation, who doesn't get a deal, a Dak Prescott or a Kirk Cousins if he feels slighted in a year and they're going to go with Michael Penix, whatever it might be. Pittsburgh is open for business, and Pittsburgh is committed to Mike. So, yes, you're not stable right now at the quarterback position. They're completely unstable. You're hearing things about Justin Fields looks great one day, and then Russell Wilson looks great the other day, and then Justin Fields looks terrible one day. They're unstable, but they have one gigantic pillar of stability for another 3 years. That's Mike Tomlin. Do I love it? No, because I think you should be allowed to let the dude just kind of coach for his job and then re-sign him depending on how the year goes. But now you're locked in with him. But I will say this, Pittsburgh is committed to stability. And there's a lot worse things you could be in the NFL than committed to stability. Yeah, middle of the road, it kind of stinks sometimes. It really stinks in the NBA because you can't find good players in picks like 14, 15 in the draft. The NBA can still find, NFL can find a lot of good players still at 14, 15. You can always trade up. It's easier. Quarterback, you can rework your franchise while still being middle of the road in the NFL. Stability is not a death sentence in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers missing minicamp. It's been a huge talking point. I'll just add this to it. With Aaron at this point in time, he clearly doesn't think of football as his number one thing. And what's crazy is that Tom Brady was playing older than Aaron, and you can still see till the bitter end, the dude's commitment to football was absolutely second to none through it all. And Aaron is a guy that when in his prime, yeah, he's committed, right? Like that's it. And now that he's out of his prime and he's not committed, I just would be frustrated as a Jets fan because I think you have a win now roster and a win now window, and your quarterback's just not in win now mode because he just doesn't care enough. That's what it feels like. Sam Darnold over J.J. McCarthy right now to start the season for the Vikings. They kind of basically announced that Sam Darnold's going to be their starter. I think this is a smart move by Minnesota. I think if you're the Minnesota Vikings, you look at this opportunity of whatever this kind of quarterback competition will be. The Vikings, I think, are smart enough to know we are not in necessarily win now mode. The Lions are better than us. The Packers are better than us. And honestly, the roster for the Bears is better than us. Now, they have a better coach. I could argue they have the second best or maybe even the first best coach in the NFC North. Kevin O'Connell's a brilliant offensive guy. They have an incredible amount of talent offensively and weapons. A young, improving defense. But if you look at their schedule, They're a team that's probably going to be 1-4, maybe 1-5 through their first 5. I mean, they have a brutal schedule, and I think you can't throw J.J. McCarthy to the Wolves. You play the Giants, that's a win. You host the Niners, that's a loss. You host the Texans, probably a loss. You go to Green Bay, probably a loss. You're in London versus the Jets. Maybe you win that game because the Jets are distracted. You host the Lions, that's a loss. You go to Los Angeles, that's a loss. So at best, you're 2-5 through your first 7. And then the schedule doesn't get much easier. Colts at home, that should be a win. On the road against Jacksonville, that's probably a loss. On the road against Tennessee, you got to win that game. Can you split against the Bears, beat the Cardinals, and maybe make a late run if J.J. McCarthy and the schedule opens up down the stretch? You end with Cardinals, Falcons, Bears, Seahawks before you play the Vikings and the Lions. And that's probably the stretch you say, hey, we want to look to get our guy in around that time after Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving. Their schedule lightens up a bit. So I'm okay with them starting Darnold. And then the QB competition in Denver. I'll say this. If Bo Nix isn't the starter, again, it's just an indictment on Sean Payton and how much I don't love this pick. And I think it's just not going to work. If I'm Sean Payton, I'm the Denver Broncos, I better hope to God that Bo Nix wins this competition and it's not Zach Wilson or Jared Stidham. Because that's going to look pretty ugly on Sean Payton and his commitment to taking the 6th quarterback of the draft at pick number 12. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app, brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai. Couple quick hitters when we come back.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. I care deeply about creating a world we can all fully participate in, free from stigma, misperceptions, and barriers. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Rooted in communities nationwide, Easter Seals helps empower millions of people, regardless of age or disability, through its life-changing services and powerful advocacy. Today and every day, Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
.1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by the great people over at Kunis Honda Hyundai. You got a big promotion going on this June, all this month. Stop in and test drive an SUV or a truck from Kunis Honda Hyundai, and you'll be automatically entered to win a brand new RV from Kunis RV and Campers. Find out more details on Kunis' website. Go to shopkunis.com to say the full inventory. Follow him on social media as well. Tell him Mark sent you, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. J.J. Redick is the new head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a good storyline. I'd like to see the Lakers make some huge moves this offseason. I think they got to go get themselves a point guard. Trae Young, maybe? Trae Young. I even think they should explore an Anthony Davis trade. I really do. Anthony Davis's value is extremely high right now. There's a lot of teams that could give you a lot for Anthony Davis. You think he could pair well in a lot of places. Chicago, where if he wants to be a superstar in a big city, New York, and they all have pieces that could be beneficial to the Lakers. Size is important in the West. It is. But as Luka just proved, scoring and running the floor was the key for them to getting through the West. And if you're able to get a Trae Young and then move an Anthony Davis for a bunch of assets and youth, pieces that are going to run the floor and listen to every word that LeBron James has to say, I think that the Lakers team could get interesting, get fun. They're always going to be interesting and fun. They're the Lakers. So shout out to JJ. Good luck to him. Bulls trade Caruso for Josh Giddey. Yeah, the crazy thing about this is it's not, listen, I came on the air and I said I'm not a fan of Josh Giddey.